Hey everyone, welcome to Keller Acres. Today I'm going to make a loaf of chocolate sourdough. That's right, chocolate sourdough bread. So it's going to be the normal looking loaf, only chocolate. I am going to be using my chocolate sourdough starter. There's a video out there on this if you're interested. This will just be my second time using this. I used it in some chocolate sourdough discard brownies recently and it was really good. So I thought, why not make a loaf of chocolate sourdough with chocolate sourdough starter? And you don't have to have chocolate sourdough starter, you can use your regular starter for this recipe. But it just needs to be active, whatever starter you're using, chocolate or regular. Okay, so for this recipe, we need approximately 3 to 3.5 cups of flour. I usually go by consistency. So I have 3 cups of flour measured out here. And I'll add more if I feel like I need it, but I'm gonna start with that. Today I'm using bread flour. Usually I use all-purpose in my sourdough, but I accidentally ordered bread flour on Amazon. I was trying to order, I think it was rice flour, the kind of flour you can put on top of your sourdough when you're doing the little design. And I guess when I typed that in, it brought this up and I was not paying attention to the fact that it also brought up bread flour. So anyway, I have bread flour. It's good though. I've been using it and I like it. There's a fly flying around being super annoying. Okay, so we need our flour. Then you're going to need a 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of either cocoa powder or Caco powder. I'm using Caco. This is what you use if you want to make a chocolate sourdough starter. I got my Caco at Walmart. Then we need a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 1/3 cup of regular sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1.5 cups of slightly warm water, and 2/3 cup of active sourdough starter, just like if you're making your normal sourdough bread. So we're gonna mix this very similar to that. I'm gonna start using my KitchenAid. I'm gonna start by putting in my starter. We're essentially just gonna mix everything together, like I said, just as we would if we were doing regular sourdough bread. It's just gonna be, this darn fly, sourdough with a flair. Can't wait for this. Something to know about the chocolate sourdough, if you decide to do that, it is very stiff. I mean, we are talking super, super stiff. So it's gonna take a little longer to mix into all these ingredients because it's like marshmallow cream consistency. If you've ever, like tried to dig the marshmallow cream out of a jar, that's what it reminds me of. So just be prepared for that. But it's fun. It's so fun to experiment with sourdough. I just love it. I'm gonna add in my sugars and I got my salt in there. Let this mix together a little bit before we add in anything else. If you have any favorite sourdough recipes, feel free to share them in the comments. Love to hear what everybody else is loving making with their sourdough, with either their discard or, you know, if you have a favorite type of bread that's maybe a little bit different like this is. Love to hear about it. Add in our cocoa, then I'll start adding in our flour. Okay, I ended up adding in 3.5 cups of flour total. It definitely needed it. And this is gonna be a shaggier dough for sure. I'm really excited about this. I mean, whoa. It looks like a really thick cake batter. It just looks delicious. I did, of course, taste it. It doesn't taste like cake batter, but golly, it looks like it. Look at that. I'm so excited to see how this turns out. So next, we're just gonna let this rest for 30 minutes, and then it's gonna be the stretch and fold process, just as you do with your regular sourdough. You're probably gonna wanna wet your hands because this dough is it's gonna stick to the hands, I have a feeling, quite a bit. So cover it up, let it rest, and then do your stretch and folds 4 to 6 times over the course of 2 hours. Also, I forgot to mention there are some suggested add-ins for this loaf if you want to. You can add in during about the middle of your stretch and folds, like after your first 2 or 3 stretch and folds, before you perform your last 2 stretch and folds, I guess is how I'll word that depending on how many stretch and folds you decide to do. That's when you will add in your mix in. And you can do like a cup of chocolate chips, a cup of Heath, whatever you feel like might complement your chocolate sourdough, or you can completely skip that, of course. You don't have to do that. I am going to add in a cup of chocolate chips to mine, so I will show that when I add in that step here shortly. Okay, I'm halfway through my stretch and folds, and I'm gonna go ahead and add in my chocolate chips. Gonna maybe pour in half at a time here. 1 cup of chocolate chips is what I'm adding. And this is a pretty messy dough. Definitely sticks to the fingers. But I think this is gonna be really good. Look at this. It just is so different. Stretching and folding something that is chocolate. Oh, I love it. It's gonna be so good. All right, let's just, and it's much stickier than my dough usually is at this point. It usually starts out pretty sticky, but then as I work it and do the stretch and folds, it usually gets less sticky. This is staying pretty sticky. That's okay though. I think it's gonna still turn out amazing. And if you're watching this video, that means it turned out. Otherwise, I wouldn't publish it. So just continue on going around the bowl and then cover again. And I'm gonna do probably 2 more stretch and folds before I let it rest for the rest of the day. Then it will go covered and into the fridge tonight. Okay, so it's the next day. I let my dough set in the fridge for about 18 hours, and now it's been out for about 4, so I'm ready to bake it. Something to note about this dough, it is extremely sticky. It's definitely a different feel than your regular sourdough bread. So I did, when I was shaping my loaf, I didn't do any major shaping, I just shaped it a little bit. I did spread some Coco powder out when I was shaping it just to help with the stickiness before I put it in my Dutch oven. So now it's in my Dutch oven. My oven is preheated to 425, and I'm gonna get this baking. I'll be starting out with the lid on, and then I'll be taking it off probably somewhere around the 20-minute mark, and then letting it finish bake from there. I will let you know though exactly how long I bake it for and how long I end up leaving the lid on. All right, I baked my loaf for 25 minutes with the lid on, and then 15 minutes with the lid off, and at 425. So let's give this a little sample. It looks a little different than my regular loaf of sourdough. It didn't rise as much, but you know, it's just a little bit, everything about it was different. So I'm not surprised. I wasn't expecting it to look exactly like my normal loaf. So maybe it'll have an amazing flavor. We're gonna see. I mean, anything chocolate looks good. Got some butter out to put a little butter on a taste because everything tastes better with butter. It really just kind of looks like chocolate cake. I know it's not going to taste anything like chocolate cake, but it looks like chocolate cake. All right, well, kind of falls apart a little bit. Do a little taste without the butter first. Do a little taste with butter. It's good, especially with those chocolate chips in there. It's good. Definitely different. It's chocolatey, but obviously it's not super chocolatey because there's not a lot of sugar in it. Kind of a fun loaf to try. So if you like just kind of more chocolate but not too sweet, then this would be a great bread to try. Fun to try anyway. So if you're into sourdough, why not try a loaf of chocolate sourdough bread? Wanted to add a couple more ideas for your chocolate sourdough bread for toppings. Peanut butter. Being a chocolate bread, peanut butter is the perfect addition to this bread, I discovered. Also jam, jelly, those work really great as well. Or topping it with some fruit, just some simple fruit topping would be really, really good on this as well. Enjoy this chocolate sourdough bread and trying all the different toppings with it. It's really good. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're enjoying our videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give us a like. Also, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Keller Acres.